up. So my mind is jumbled with many, many thoughts. So our expert speaker for today, Professor Preeti Bajpai, Associate Professor, Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Motihari, Bihar. I think we will seek many of the questions and many of the new insights from Professor Bajpai today. And I'll share some brief background of Professor Bajpai with all of you. So Professor Bajpai did her doctoral research from Central Drug Research Institute, Lucknow in the year 2007. She has around 15 years of teaching and research experience. Professor Vajpayee has won several awards and recognitions during her whole during this experience, including membership of National Academy of Sciences in 2017. She got Best Research Paper Award by Interdisciplinary Sciences Computational Life Sciences Award in 2016 with a cash prize of $2,600. She is also a recipient of SERB Young Scientist Award in the form of extramural grant of rupees 27 lakhs. Professor Bajpai also obtained Professor M.B. Mirza Award in 2005 by Indian Society of Parasitology for best published work carried out in India. She is also a CSIR Senior Research Fellowship recipient in the year 2004. Professor Bajpai also uh, obtained, or she was also awarded with the Best Paper Publication Award in the 16th National Congress of Parasitology in the year 2002. So her two research articles, they have been ranked with 3 stars by BioWizard, the biomedical research portal. She has supervised almost 15 doctoral theses of PhD students, and 3 are currently pursuing under her guidance. Besides an ongoing research project, she has completed 3 government-funded projects successfully. And Professor Vajpayee has also worked as coordinator of DST FIST grant to the Department of Biosciences at Integral University, Lucknow in year 2018. Besides this, she has published several research papers in national and international peer-reviewed journals. Professor Bajpai is member of many scientific societies, including the National Academy of Sciences, Indian Society of Parasitology, and International Society of Exercise Immunology. I should say that I know Professor Bajpai since a very long time because, again, like Professor Prashant Singh, we are also product of the same lab from Central Drug Research Institute, and she is my senior from whom I've learned a lot. So that is there is a lot of gratitude for her that I have. So I know that she is a great immunologist and a molecular biologist, and she has proved her capability again and again in the research field. So besides professional excellence, Professor Bajpai is also mother of 2 very lovely daughters whom I really praise a lot. So with warm welcome, I would request Professor Bajpai to start her session for the today, that is based on CRISPR-Cas as a boon for antibody engineering. Over to you, Pam.
Thank you, Meghna. Thank you so much. And it is really a great pleasure to see you. Thank you for inviting me. At least I could see you, and it was really very good to hear such an elaborate introduction. Thank you. We were just like sisters.
Ma'am, you have done so much work in this field that there is a long list. I actually trimmed it for the audience.
It was really good to see you here and doing really very well
Thank you
there.
so much.
And thank you for giving me this opportunity so that I can interact with the faculty members and you from after such a long time. Now I can start the session now.
Yes, ma'am, please.
I'm going to share the slides.
Okay. So, ma'am, on the bottom there is a up arrow. Okay, yeah, good.
Yeah. Other slides. Meghna, slides are visible to
Yes,
everyone?
ma'am. Slides are visible to everyone, and we can move to full screen mode.
Yeah, I've already switched on to full screen mode.
Okay. So is everyone able to see the full screen mode?
No.
No, no, ma'am. We can see the PowerPoint slide, but it is not visible on full screen mode. So maybe you can try, ma'am, share the whole window.
Yeah, I'm sharing the whole window.
Okay. No issues because this has happened earlier also. So there is some like
Hmm.
compatibility issue. So we can zoom in the slide.
Yeah, we can zoom in the slide so
Yeah,
that we can
right,
start.
ma'am.
Because otherwise, is it
No
comfortable
problem.
now for everyone?
No, we are yet to see the shared window. Now we can't see the shared window, ma'am.
Okay, just a minute.
Yeah.
I'm going to again start sharing. Is it clear now?
Yeah, it is coming now.
It is comfortable
Yes, ma'am. So,
because once I'm going to switch to slideshow, I don't
huh.
know why it is not appearing in your window.
No, no problem, ma'am. I think the
We
screen
can
is
start.
visible and we can see the slide.
Okay. Then I can start with this. Now, antibodies, what actually these are? Recently, we were not bothered about the immune system so much. We were not bothered about the antibodies or their presence and absence in our body or their functions till now. But last 2 years, the pandemic has told each and everyone. Now, about the immune system, you can see even the kids talking about. They are also discussing, even the old people who are not even aware of the defense system or who are not from the biological background, they are also talking about our defense system. So very recently this pandemic or the debilitating effect this pandemic has created on the population as well as the economy worldwide has taught us the importance of our immune system, and antibodies are a very important component of this immune system. Now, what is antibody engineering? Antibody engineering encompasses around the discovery methods, the production strategies, and the modification techniques to construct these tailored antibodies. Up till now, what happened? The antibody engineering from before the last decade, you can say 5 to 7 years before, it was just the strategy to produce the antibodies in a huge amount. But in the last decade, the advancements have been made to such an extent that different types of antibodies can be constructed, and these tailored antibodies have captured a huge market. Rather, you can say they have captured a huge area economically, also in the field of diagnostics, therapeutic, and research purposes. Now, the main antibody classes about which we are talking about, for which we go for antibody engineering or which are being used for immunotherapeutics, belong to the IgG class, IgA, and IgM. I think all of you must be aware of all the five classes of the antibodies, but only these three classes are considered to be the main important classes for immunotherapeutics, and that too even IgG is the preferred class. If we are going to consider the percentage, then IgG occupies more than 90% of the immunotherapeutics. Why? That is because the reason for this is that being the monomeric in nature, it is small in size to be constructed to be delivered to be used. And even if we are going to see its isotypes, there are four isotypes which come to this region. The four isotypes are IgG1, IgG2A, 2B, IgG3, and IgG4. Among this, the IgG1 is the most preferred type, which is being used for therapeutics, for research purpose. So maximally they are being engineered for different purposes. Even the IgG, the most important factor when we are going to use this IgG for therapeutics, is that they have the so many binding receptors which mediate the antibody mediated function, which involves the Fc gamma R1 receptor, which is present on macrophages, Fc gamma R2A receptor, R2B receptor, Fc gamma R3A receptor, and 3B receptor. All these receptors involve so many cells, including your macrophages, dendritic cells, your other body cells, your eosinophils. So, what happens? NK cells, they are being involved for activation mediated by this IgG binding or antibody mediated functions. So many binding to so many receptors also adds to its characteristics, making it the preferred class for antibody engineering or for production in the laboratory. Now, what else is the important point which needs to be considered when we are going to talk about IgG? As I told you, that isotypes which are being the preferred class for the production are IgG1, IgG2A, 2B, and IgG4 at the last. First is the preferred choice is IgG1 and IgG2. Why not 3 and 4? 3 has a huge hinge region with many disulfide bonds, which gives it a long, you can say the molecular weight increases. So, what happens? The IgG1 and 2 become the preferred class. Then, what are the characteristics in the variable domain? As this whole antibody molecule has a constant fragment, which is important for the antibody mediated functions, whereas the variable domain is important for the binding to the antigen recognition, so to the antigenic sites or epitopes. So the most important site is your variable domain, and in that variable domain, that to some specific regions like complementarity determining regions interact with the antigens. These complementarity determining regions are very important, as they are going to recognize the antigenic epitopes, and then further the antibody mediated functions can be governed. So the main engineering is being done in this antibody binding region to the antigen or your CDR region, and this CDR region is composed of framework regions. You can see the CDR region in the light chain having the 3 CDR regions, the light chain having the 3 CDR regions, and in the same way the heavy chain also contains the 3 CDR regions. Now this heavy chain is being rearranged when the B cells are uh, undergoing maturation in the or maturation and differentiation in the bone marrow. So this CDR rearrangement takes place there when the variable segment and the joining segment and diversity segment they join. So at that time the differentiation and the diversity is being created in these molecules. Now in between these CDR regions, there are framework regions, and these framework regions are conserved sequences which make up the beta sheet structural folds of antibodies. So All this tells us that this is the important region which provides a platform for engineering. Why a platform for engineering? Because these three CDR regions can determine the binding with the antigen. They interact with the antigen and they need to be changed. They need to be configured so that the complementarity can be determined with the antigenic epitopes, and these framework regions are also important in between as they decrease or they provide the suitable platform so that the CDR complementarity can be easily determined. The CDR regions can be easily formed or constructed as desired. Then comes your constant fragment, and the constant fragment is also important, as important as that of your variable fragment, which is binding to the antigen. Why this constant fragment is important? This constant fragment is important because this is responsible for the antibody mediated functions, and all these antibody mediated functions are going to prove or going to allow the remedy towards the, or they are going to give you the results after administration of your desired antibody. So antibody mediated functions are also very important for this particular construction or designing of antibodies. Now, when we are talking about antibodies, they were termed to be magic bullets. Why they were termed to be magic bullets? Just because when it was being observed that these antibodies can perform various functions by binding to the certain epitopes, certain regions, by they can perform different types of functions. But before performing different types of functions, they were categorized into two types: polyclonal antibodies and monoclonal antibodies. Many of you people must be aware of these two terms, but as we are discussing about antibody, I just want to tell you briefly about what are polyclonal antibodies. The naturally produced antibodies in our cells are polyclonal antibodies because they can recognize different epitopes on a single antigen. As you can see here, these are the different epitopes which are being expressed in different colors. They can be recognized by the polyclonal antibodies, as these antibodies are secreted by a lineage of B cells. So they are capable of binding to multiple epitopes. Now, monoclonal antibodies. The monoclonal antibodies are produced by clones of a single B cell, and they are highly specific towards a particular epitope, and that is why they are highly specific and do perform the desired functions in a better manner than the polyclonal antibodies. So the scientists, once they discovered the monoclonal antibodies, they became the magic bullets for the use in therapeutics, especially those autoimmune disorders, cancer, and other diseases for which the remedy by conventional chemotherapeutics cannot be easily achieved. Now, initially, these monoclonal antibodies were being produced by hybridoma technology. Hybridoma technology involves a mice which is being immunized by the antigen, and this mice, the B cells are isolated from this mice, and the myeloma cells are taken and fused with this B cells. As the B cells, they have a certain life, so these myeloma cells, they fuse with the B cells and a hybridoma is being created. This hybridoma undergoes the Hatch selection so that only fused cells are being selected, and these fused cells are then isolated for a single clone, the antibody producing cells. These B cells fused with the myeloma cells form an antibody producing immortal B cell. Now, this immortal B cell is being cloned to produce a separate colony, and then the antibody purification starts. Once these antibodies are being formed or produced, what are the functions, the main functions they perform while binding to their particular receptors or their particular regions? So the main functions they perform are antagonism. The first function which was being recognized is the antagonism. Antagonism is blocking of certain receptors, and this can be done by binding of antibody with the ligand as well as with the receptor. And the antibodies which were being designed were infliximab, omalizumab, and natalizumab. Now, these antibodies, among this omalizumab, it is being produced for IgE and is used in the case of acute asthma. Infliximab, it is being used in the case of allergic reactions. So these drugs were being used for subsiding the receptor or suppressing the receptor so that the function of antagonism can be achieved. Then comes the signaling, like here this TGN 140, this antibody, it binds to its receptor and induces the signal transduction. This is the theralizumab antibody which was being designed against CD28 so that it can trigger the T cell activation. However, this antibody is now being disapproved, or it is not, it is discontinued from its use in the therapeutics just because of the adverse reactions which were being associated with the administration of this particular antibody. Then comes your CDC, that is the complement dependent cytotoxicity. These antibodies are used against the cancer. They are being targeted directly to the cancer for targeted killing of the tumor cells. Similar was the case with the antibody dependent cell cytotoxicity. Even these two antibodies, which function in the same manner as that of complement dependent cytotoxicity, they were being used against cancer. They are also being used against rheumatoid arthritis. However, in some of the cases, they developed the adverse reaction. So every time it is not the case that administration of these monoclonal antibodies or your magic bullets is going to allow you to achieve whatever you want, whatever is being desired. As you can see, they can suppress certain receptors, they can activate certain receptors, they can promote the signaling. But apart from all that, they can also trigger certain side effects which can be lethal also. So administering or using these antibodies, constructing these antibodies is always not a safe resume for therapeutics or even for diagnostic purposes, because they can give you the false positive results also. Despite of being very specific, they can give you the false positive results also. So these are some of the side effects which are strictly associated with the administration of monoclonal antibodies. And the immunogenicity, first is the immunogenicity of a foreign protein. This was the main side effect which was being associated with the antibodies which were initially produced by hybridoma technology, as they were of mouse origin. So they were of mouse origin, so they were being recognized by the humans as a foreign protein and led to the severe adverse reactions and a very poor efficacy. Then further advancements were being done by inducing or changing the FC region, that was the constant region which was responsible for antibody mediated functions by your humanized or human chains. So by that, the chimeric antibodies, which we are going to discuss in the next slide, chimeric antibodies were being designed, but even the chimeric antibodies were responsible for infusion reactions, local skin reactions, pyrexia and influenza-like symptoms. Then further, the along with the constant fragment, the variable fragment of the antibodies was also changed, was also modified so that by the chain of the humans. So none of the region from the mouse could remain there except the CDR region, and that was your humanized monoclonal antibodies. But administration of all those also led to severe side effects like serum sickness, tumor lysis syndrome, drug-induced thrombocytopenia, cytokine release, thyroid disease, even some of the antibodies which could lead to the cancer development, that to B-cell leukemia and autoimmune colitis, cardiotoxicity, and the major concern was the cytokine storm. Now, step by step, in last 2 decades, the revolution has been occurred in the antibody modifications. As I told you in the earlier slide, that initially it was murine antibody, which was being obtained from the hybridoma technology, and that was 0% human. This was the first antibody which was being produced, but as soon as it was being administered, there were huge immunogenic reactions. Then the constant fragment was being replaced by that of human, so that the antibody mediated functions do not change or do not affect and create the adverse effects. So these antibodies which were being created, but even then these antibodies also resulted into huge adverse reactions or allergic reactions, including your infusion reactions at the site of administration, and even your variable domain was being recognized, was there as a foreign protein and was recognized for immunogenic response against this particular variable region. Then came the humanized, and these humanized antibodies contained more than 90% of human chains, that too of both the variable as well as the constant fragment. So both these two chains became of human, and then the antibodies were called as humanized. Again, the revolution took place, as these humanized antibodies also resulted into the immunogenic responses. Then the xenogenic or transgenic mice were being created, and these transgenic mice produced fully human antibodies. And these fully human antibodies, however, addressed many of the issues related to the adverse effects, but still these fully human antibodies result into side effects, which are still the issues for the concern regarding the antibody engineering. Now, with the development of human antibodies at each and every step, the advancements of the genetic engineering was being involved, and the use of mice was being reduced as we moved towards the human antibodies or fully human antibodies, starting from murine to chimeric, humanized, and then totally human antibodies. And the alternative strategies were being developed for the production of human monoclonal antibodies. Now, the alternative strategies, what were they? They involved the phage display library. Here, the phage display library was being created, which contained the whole genome of the or the whole segment for the production of your variable domain as well as the constant fragment. And this does not involve the involvement of or the mouse models or the experimental models. Then transgenic mice which were cloned in such a way or produced in such a way so that the human monoclonal antibodies are being produced, were being used. And these transgenic mice were being artificially created for production of total or 100% human monoclonal antibodies. Then B cell immortalization. The B cells were being isolated from the patients. They were immortalized under the in vitro conditions and again administered in the same patients. And after the transformation, so that they produce the antibodies of the desired epitope specificity. Then single B cell cloning. Even the single B cells were being isolated from the spleen, from the bone marrow of the patients. They were being transformed in the in vitro conditions, and then again single cell was allowed to form a colony. And this single B cell cloning revolutionized the use of monoclonal antibodies, because in this the direct cells were being used for this particular purpose. So what happened? As there were different avenues which came up day by day for the development or advancements in the monoclonal antibodies, the monoclonal antibodies captured the major portion of the market in comparison to the other biopharma therapeutics. And these, you can see by this is the 34% which has been occupied by the monoclonal antibodies. If we are going to talk about the monoclonal antibody, even few of the antibodies were successful to reduce the severe effect of COVID also. Even for the new strain Omicron, the monoclonal antibodies are successful to suppress it so that the hospitalization is not required. Even they have dominated the vaccine market these days. And these are the milestones of therapeutic monoclonal antibodies which have been achieved since their discovery from 1975 till 2019. Some of the research work was being hampered, and after 2019 due to COVID, because worldwide the scenario changed towards development of all the strategies which could combat this virus pandemic. And even monoclonal antibodies were successful in combating the virus also to some extent. And recently there came a strategy of CRISPR that changed the mindset of production of these monoclonal antibodies in the market. Now, these, as they have occupied a huger portion in the or huge market in the therapeutics, in the diagnostics, so they have also advanced their applications in various fields. Like they can be used as direct therapeutic agents in cancer treatment. They can be used as targeting agents in therapy, in the autoimmune disorders, in the parasitic diseases, they can be used as targeting agents. They can be used for protein purification. They can be used as epizymes. Autoantibody fingerprinting is also there, which is being used in the forensic sciences to advance or to add on to their credentials. Then the diagnostic imaging, which has captured more than 80% of the market in the diagnosis. Biochemical analysis and biosimilars. Biosimilars are the recent advances in the use of monoclonal antibodies, in which the single chains binding to multiple epitopes, or a single molecule with chains binding to multiple epitopes, are being used. The biosimilars are being isolated from the humans, and they can be used again for the same as well as the other humans for therapeutics. Now, as the market has captured or monoclonal antibodies have captured a huge market, they have also certain challenges for production, because while they have certain side effects, so they have certain challenges also for production. And these challenges involved, first the challenge was ethical concern, as there was the animal involvement. Then, as it was, the production involved the recombinant technology. So this recombinant technology is time consuming, challenging, and expensive. And even it requires the outsourcing of certain works, like procuring of your primers, procuring for more and more reagents for this particular antibody development, and for each and every batch culture. Even if we are using the cells, we are maintaining those cells for a long time for production. The roller bottles, or the even bioprocess, huge bioprocess methods which can advance this antibody production, are also going to alter the production of each monoclonal antibody in every batch. So all these were the concerns. Then the major concern was, the scientists usually wanted to substitute the FC without affecting the Fab region, because Fab region is specific for a particular epitope. So it would be very good if the FC substitution, or the constant fragment, could be substituted without affecting the Fab region, which is recognizing the epitope, or which is binding to the desired antigenic epitope. So this is not possible till now with the strategies whatever have been developed till date, excluding your CRISPR. Installation of useful tags or mutations in the genomic encoding genomes, encoding Fab fragment, that was also very difficult. And even the site specific conjugation of drugs, which could engineer the antibodies to address many challenges where the antibodies alone cannot perform the desired functions. So these were the challenges with monoclonal antibody production. And what are the possible resolutions? The possible resolutions can start from molecular engineering platforms, which can genetically encode sequences for site-specific conjugation of drugs. The combinatorial therapy is always dominating the single use of a particular molecule. So here also the site-specific conjugation of desired drug could achieve the desired product, or desired results can be obtained. Then the genetic modification of monoclonal antibodies by sequencing of hybridoma antibody variables and subsequent cloning into production of cell lines. Even the hybridoma screen could not be created, which could screen multiple antibodies so that it could be easy to get the desired product. Now, transgenic mice with desired gene was also is also difficult to create because that is a time consuming and even the cost consuming method for production of antibodies. The site specific mutations are also not easy to induce, and with the advent or with the discovery of this CRISPR Cas9, many of these resolutions could be obtained. This RNA guided DNA nuclease programmed to site specifically modify the target sequences in the genome resolved many of these issues, which we are going to see in the next slides by with, the works or the recent publications of the scientists. The advent or the uses of these are the various applications of CRISPR-Cas9. The CRISPR-Cas9 resulted into site-specific DNA integration. It helped into chromosome manipulation, genome-wide functional screening, gene expression regulation, which helped in the production of hybridoma screens for production of multiple or screening of multiple monoclonal antibodies at single time point to reduce the time virus resistance so that the fast display libraries could be easily used. Then transgene free modifications can be done using this CRISPR. So how the CRISPR changed the antibody engineering in a very efficient manner. First was the site-controlled conjugation of fluorescent and radioactive cargoes. The site-controlled conjugation resulted into the tagging of monoclonal antibodies with the fluorescent and radioactive tags so that they can be easily isolated from the techniques or flow cytometry. By the use of flow cytometry or fluorescent microscopes can they be easily used to monitor their incorporation or their production. Then homology directed repair technique can be used to create a recombinant hybridoma screen, which can be further utilized for the production of monoclonal or screening of monoclonal antibodies. Then engineering of hybridoma to produce the Fab fragments instead of corresponding the whole IgH molecule. IgH molecule is the immunoglobulin heavy chain fragment in the chromosome which is responsible for synthesis of your immunoglobulin heavy chain. So the Fab fragment could be engineered without changing the whole fragment or without changing or altering this whole immunoglobulin heavy chain molecule. And even the Fab fragments can be unaltered and the drugs could be conjugated to the other parts of your heavy chain so that the antibody mediated functions along with the conjugated drugs could be obtained. Then using the CRISPR-Cas9, efficiently class switching recombinations can be obtained in the human B cell lines. And these cells can be further used directly as a treatment options rather than purifying the antibody, minimizing that step also. Then variable and heavy chain cassette libraries can be integrated into the genome of hybridoma cells. And these some of the studies which were being recently performed. My group is not exactly working on this particular aspect. We are working on innate immune receptors, that is the toll-like receptors, and we are working specifically on designing of certain vehicles for targeting these toll-like receptors, maybe in very near future, we are going to use this CRISPR-Cas9 also to alter the production or the presence or targeting of those toll-like receptor also. But here I am discussing the research of some eminent researchers or the publications to explain or to reach you all the message how the CRISPR-Cas9 has modified the antibody production in these recent days. Now, this scheme is telling you the engineered B cells expressing an anti-HIV antibody. HIV is being still treated by the heart therapy, and anti-HIV antibody enabling B cells can be, or antibody production inside the humans in the life conditions can be a very good therapeutic approach along with the heart therapy to provide the 99% efficacy of the removal of HIV or subsiding of this HIV virus. In this, here these B cells have been engineered. And how they have been engineered? A bicistronic acid encoding the light and heavy chains have been inserted into the immunoglobulin heavy molecule, and this is under the control of an enhancer dependent promoter region. And these cells are going to, once inserted into the patients, are going to produce the desired antibody. They are going to switch into the plasma B cells producing the desired antibody. They are also going to switch or towards the memory cell production, as well as they are going to produce the antibodies with a high antigen induced activation. So just by modifying using the CRISPR-Cas9 and inducing an antibody, anti-HIV antibody region, encoding region into the immunoglobulin heavy chain, these B cells can be directly used as a very efficient tool, a therapeutic tool for HIV patients. Now there is another study which is site-specifically modified antibody production by using CRISPR-Cas9. In this, the hybridoma cells were modified by co-transfection with the plasmid expressing your sgRNA and Cas9 and linearized HDR repair plasmid. HDR is your homology determined repair. So this type of HDR screen is going to help you out in the production of those antibodies which are of desired origin. These are being produced by the desired hybridoma cell lines, and these hybridoma cell lines can be multiple, can move to multiple cultures for the manufacturing of antibodies which can be used for site-specific conjugation of drugs or site-specific conjugation of any other molecule, chemical molecule which you are going to desire to attach to it. Now, the CRISPR-Cas9 in immunotherapy. The CRISPR has also been used in the immunotherapy. How? By creating the CAR T cells. Now, these CAR T cells, in this, the cells are being, white blood cells are being collected from the humans, and the T cells are isolated. These T cells are engineered to recognize the cancer cells, and in this also the chains are being modified using the CRISPR-Cas9, and they are ready to be again induced into the patient for working as a therapeutic agent. They are going to bind directly to the tumor cells and kill those tumor cells. Then the genome-wide CRISPR screen, which uncovers the diverse endolysosomal regulators of ADC toxicity. This is a genome-wide CRISPR screen, which is also being produced with the help of HDR concept. And this genome-wide CRISPR screen can help you provide screening multiple antibodies at the same time point, so that you can use this screen for production of antibody as well as the changes in the FC region, so that the endosomal regulators which govern the antibody dependent cytotoxicity can be controlled. Then comes your dual specific chemoenzymatic antibody fragment conjugation, which uses the CRISPR-based hybridoma engineering. Here, the functionalized antibodies and antibody fragments have been used in the fields of therapeutic and antibody drug conjugation. What are the benefits of using them? The benefits they have are the possibility to deliver more than one type of cargo to the target cells. The bioconjugation methods used here are used for the reproducibility to obtain defined homogeneous conjugates which bear multiple different cargo molecules without comprising the target affinity, which is being a necessity for today. The CRISPR-Cas9 here has rapidly engineered the hybridoma cells to secrete the Fab fragments which are bearing two distinct site-specific labeling motifs, which can be separately modified by two different sortase mutants. You can see cargo A and cargo B. These two different sorted mutants can be attached to it, which can bind to two different epitopes and are delivered as a single molecule. Then comes your plug and display hybridomas. Here also the HDR, homology directed repair concept is being used. Here the M-Ruby hybridoma cell lines are being used. By plug and display, the M-Ruby is a fluorescent dye which is going to be plugged to your monoclonal antibody chain, and this VH chain and VL chain, endogenous region of variable heavy chain, is being modified so that the modifications, the sorting out can be easily done by using FACS in live cells, which is going to simplify the process of monoclonal antibody production. So many of the issues which were being related with the monoclonal antibody production till date have been addressed by the introduction of this CRISPR-Cas9 today in the antibody engineering, and this leads towards the development of future monoclonal antibodies. Many of them have come into the market and some are underway, which are very soon going to reach the market and going to capture that part also where the drugs are not successful to achieve or to provide the remedy or the answers to many of the human ailments. The first few future antibodies which we can see are the Fab domains. Why to use a huge molecule when only a single chain variable region can perform this function? A single chain variable region is very small in comparison to the whole monoclonal antibody, and if that can be delivered, that can perform a better function by blocking or by triggering the signaling without causing any kind of antibody dependent cytotoxicity, thereby reducing the antibody dependent toxicity also. That concern can also be addressed. Antibody ranibexizumab, humanized monoclonal antibody fragment, and apsizumab came into the market last 3 years before, and this is a Fab fragment with a chimeric human murine antibody. However, certain modifications have also been done in this Fab fragment so that the more human fragment can be achieved. Then bispecific antibodies. Bispecific antibodies, as we discussed in the research of site-directed conjugation and even your hybridoma screen, site-specific conjugation and hybridoma screen. That technology can be used for production of bispecific antibodies. These bispecific antibodies are two immunoglobulin chains binding to two different receptors, activating two different type of lineages like emicizumab, which can bind to two coagulation factors and is used in hemophilia. Then blinatumomab, which binds to both the T and B cells simultaneously, is being used for rheumatoid arthritis patients and for asthma patients. Then antibody drug conjugates. Antibody drug conjugates are specifically used for cancer treatment where monoclonal antibodies alone cannot perform the desired functions. They are the drug conjugated with the antibodies, or these drugs can be even conjugated with a single Fab or Fc fragment, which can directly deliver these drugs to the target site. These drugs are known as payload drugs, which are being directed to the target cancers or target sites. The monoclonal antibody which has been produced by this technique or belonging to this class is etacetrus or inotuzumab ozogamicin. Inotuzumab is your monoclonal antibody fragment with the ozogamicin drug, which is being used for hematological cancers. Then further future depends on nanobodies. These nanobodies are very small fragments of even the variable region, not the whole variable region to be delivered. Even a very small fragment of variable region which can directly recognize the epitope can be obtained from xenogenic origin, and that too of hopefully human origin or for human gene without creating any kind of adverse reactions. They can also come up. However, they are under development. This capacitizumab, it is the first nanobody which has been approved till date, and rest of them are underway. They are in the experimental research still. Then intrabodies, up till now all the antibodies which have captured the market are going to recognize the surface receptors. None of the antibody goes or expresses inside the cytoplasm. These intrabodies are going to be expressed inside the cytoplasm, and they can bind to the proteins which are creating the disease or which are the problematic issues inside the cytoplasm itself. They are in the experimental studies against the Parkinson. Then stereospecific and catalytic monoclonal antibodies. The stereospecific monoclonal antibodies recognize the 3D conformation of molecules, the three-dimensional conformation of molecules, whereas the catalytic monoclonal antibodies recognize and degrade the target antigens. Both these antibodies have been developed, but they are still waiting for the approval for their use in the humans. Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a really very informative session on different aspects of immune cells. Also, you described how different antibodies and their engineering is carried out to make them more useful. The part of presentation when you explained monoclonal antibodies as magic bullets was really interesting. Also, the side effects of using these antibodies for treatment of cancer or in cancer therapies is also considered and really an important aspect to be seen. Also, I personally loved how engineered immune cells are actually researched for their use for HIV treatment, which is something which we are not antiviral treatment basically, which we are not able to achieve yet. And besides this, humanized antibodies and nanobodies are completely new concepts emerging in, and we look forward for a great future in immune therapy for different diseases. And CRISPR has certainly, as you explained, that CRISPR has certainly helped us to create more of engineered and personalized and customized antibodies, which would really accelerate the treatment of these antibody-based therapeutic treatment. So now I would like to request all the participants. So if you have any questions, you can put your questions and write your questions in the chat box, or maybe you can raise your hands and unmute yourself one by one to ask questions directly from Professor Preeti Bajpai. So please, if you have any related questions, if you're working in this area or there is certain doubt you have, then please write down your questions here, and Professor Bajpai shall answer these questions because she is an expert in the area. So ma'am, I think participants take a little bit time in gathering the question and writing the question. So in the meantime, I have this one question, like these immune cells, they are a good therapeutic, but is use of CRISPR as a therapy for creating these therapeutic immune cells has been reported yet, or are people actually working on creating such customized immune cells?
Yeah, they are using the CRISPR because CRISPR has provided a platform so that these hybridoma cells can be engineered in such a way, like high throughput screening has come up so that we can screen multiple drug molecules at a time point in the same way using the homologically directed repair mechanism and using this CRISPR Cas9 targeted engineering. These recombinant hybridoma cell lines screens have been prepared, so multiple antibodies can be prepared or screened at the same time point using this hybridoma screen, similarly as that of your HTS screening. That has reduced the time. Even the B cells which cannot be used in the live conditions up till now, this CRISPR has provided that platform also. Now these B cells can be engineered to produce the desired epitopic binding and desired fragment, constant fragment also, which can give you the results which can with a limited cytotoxicity. So this CRISPR has really revolutionized the antibody, the use of monoclonal antibodies and the B cells in the immunotherapy. There
Great,
are
ma'am.
multiple reports, however, not much, but multiple reports are coming across the world because it is a very new technology for us also. So day by day people are using in different avenues and testing how it can provide the platforms for getting the desired results.
Also, ma'am, how you see the future of CRISPR in normal molecular biology labs? Like we all work in some or the other kind of research projects. So we are not those cutting edge scientists. So how, as faculties in different colleges, how is it possible for us to integrate this CRISPR technology for our basic sciences and basic research?
The freedom which CRISPR has provided uh, can be used for basic sciences because it is a new technology. So people are still in a learning phase. But very soon, this CRISPR, as it is capturing the market, especially your research field, as it is becoming more popular day by day, the more freedom it is providing for cutting, for incorporation of the genes, for manipulation of the genes, they can be easily used
Great.
for this
And
particular.
especially what I heard of is the CRISPR kits available through different companies for
Yeah,
lab usage.
it will be very soon. I think very soon, recently in 2 or 3 years, it will become so popular that even you can, there will be the teaching kits for students to give you the accessibility to those masters and even PhD students also.
Great. Wow. So that was a very great informative sessions. And ma'am, you can see in the chat box also. So people, all the faculty members, they have really liked the session, and they have sent their compliments that it was a very informative session, and they were able to learn a lot about this new field, new area. So every day we are exposed to new kind of use of CRISPR. So that's the spectrum of CRISPR. So thank you very much. A lot of gratitude and a lot of respect for teaching us today about this immune based engineering, as well as use of CRISPR-Cas in engineering the immune cells or immune therapeutics for different diseases. So it was an awesome lecture, ma'am, and we look forward to learn a lot from you in the future programs, conferences, and even faculty development programs.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Meghna. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
giving me this opportunity. It was really my pleasure to interact with you all. It would have been much better if we could interact physically.
Physically, yes. Even I wanted to say that that physical presence is different than online, but yes, physical presence I really miss, because since last 2 years, even I have not attended any kind of physical lecture or
Yeah,
sessions for any of the programs. So I really miss that. So soon,
yeah,
waiting that our technology is able to make us again live in a free life.
yeah. Again, a free life. And even if I would have been there physically, maybe some of the participants could have interacted in a better manner.
Right, ma'am. So,
Yeah.
so let's see. So some more compliments. So Professor Rajani, she says that it was a wonderful and informative session, ma'am, and
Thank you
her
very
questions
much.
also got clarified when I asked questions to you. So Professor Shama says it's a very nice session. So I really appreciate the compliments that we receive, because they boost the confidence of the speaker and also the organizer and even the participants sitting here. So everyone then they feel there is a positive vibe in the environment, and we need to keep that as a scientist. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. And the participants, so I again pasted the link for your attendance. So please access that link, and also a YouTube link for the recorded lecture of the past session. So please access that link as well, and see you in the next session, which is going to be more interesting on health and wellness, and how we can use different exercises, different kind of yoga asanas for maintaining a better health. So because I understand it's been 3 days, so the next session would be at 12 p.m., 12 noon. So next session is going to be at 12 noon. So please gather using the same link over here, right? So see you all. Thank you, ma'am. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. The link would be this. This is the same link we are going to join in. We will be here at the same link, and I'll share the link for the next session. Thank you so much. Sure. See you at 12. So it's going to be a really interesting session. I request all of you to please join it. Even if you have classes, try to arrange that. So I'll share the YouTube link on your emails also, but after the whole FDP is completed, because I seriously want only those people who are attending this FDP to access this link. I don't want everyone who is not attending, because the questions for your final assessment and test would be based from each of these presentations. So please listen to them very carefully.